Here is our latest gate. Very similar to our other gate. You can see over here we have red cedar at the bottom scarfed to yellow pine. So that scarf right there is called Shirobasami Sugi. It's essentially two equal halves and then they're cross wedged. So right there in the middle, there's two oak wedges. You can see them right here. Yeah. And one comes in from one side and one from the other side, and then you hammer them in tight and they eventually create the tension that joint is under, which is quite a bit. Obviously we got the post that comes up, and then we have that corbel situation that's going on. So you have the funahijiki and then the udegi. So really it's just like a lower corbel and an upper corbel. And then you see those black pieces up there? That's actually white oak that we fumed with ammonia. So whenever the vapors of ammonia come in contact with white oak, if there's enough tannins and the oak isn't like super petrified or whatever, it can turn the oak black, which is really cool. People think it's walnuts or some sort of wengi or something like that, but it's not. It's just white oak, and it's not stained in any way. It's just the ammonia reaction with the tannins, which is super cool. Okay, and then let me see what else we got. So we have that corbel right there, and then this rafter plate right here. I don't know if you can see it, but over here there's a small tenon, and it has two wedges that go in there. So there's not a peg or a pin or a screw or anything that holds that rafter plate in place, and it's the exact same thing on the other side. So you have the small tenon that comes in from this piece into the rafter plate, and it's held on all four sides like that. And then of course you got the rafter plate. So the rafter plate at the very top, the ridge beam at the very top right there, you can see this is kind of like a castle joint. And I did something kind of unique in there. If you look at the plans, it's actually almost like a series of reductions. So I didn't really want to bother myself with getting this measurement exactly here when there's a ton of people. So instead what I did was I cut out a small cog to hold that guy in place, which is actually kind of similar to what's going on inside the post right there. So those two corbel pieces, we didn't have to measure anything when we put this stuff together, because the lower one has a small cutout right exactly in the middle where it needs to be, so that when you put everything in, everything just kind of sits into that cog. And because of the stabilizer, both of the stabilizers and that cog, everything lines up to exactly the middle where it needs to be. So there was no guessing, no, kind of going back and forth and checking. If it fit, it worked. Okay, which was really cool for, getting a bunch of guys on a really hot day. It made the raising go much quicker than otherwise could have. So anyway, yeah, those stabilizers there, those are really cool. Let me see if I can get you a better shot of what's going on there. So yeah, that's what they look like. The very top of that corbel situation is also another series of cross wedges, and that holds everything nice and tight. So because of the fact that those pieces were already so small, I didn't want to peg it. So kind of take it all back up a second. I designed this gate myself. So I looked at some photos online, and I decided that this was kind of the way that we wanted to go. I consulted with Mr. Chickadee, Josh, and he kind of talked me off a ledge on some of the design aspects that I wanted to do, and then we kind of settled on this one. This one's nice and simpler than some of the crazy complicated stuff that I wanted to do. But that's what Japanese joinery is for, right? It's just to overcomplicate things for the sake of complicating them. So, but I think it came out really cool, right? And then of course the actual gate door is made using the dovetail jig that I have. So these are all 2x4s from the store, and you can see right here, there's a dovetail, and there's a dovetail down here too, right? And there's a dovetail down there too. So yeah, those guys are glued in there. There's not really any fasteners, at least at those joints. This cross brace does have screws from up here and from the side. That's just to kind of hold it in place. And it may look a little flimsy, but it's actually very, very sturdy and very reliable. The other gate has the same construction, and it's still perfectly level and perfectly horizontal. So there's something about it. And one thing I almost forgot to mention is the wood roof. So there are no shingles. There's nothing on there other than wood. So those are 2x12s from Home Depot. But they have they're treated with turpentine, pine tar, and boiled linseed oil. So that mixture, essentially a 1-to-1-to-1. should help preserve that roof. So it's rained a couple times so far, and the water just kind of beads up and slides right off, right? It is a roof that's gonna take maintenance. It's not gonna be set it and forget it kind of thing, right? We're gonna have to go up there and apply a new layer of pine tar. You know, it's not a big deal, right? Roofs were made to be maintained, some of them at least, right? I don't necessarily want to ruin this by putting shingles or metal or something like that. And if I need to, that's perfectly fine, right? I can always buy some more of these boards. I can take the measurement, cut them, and replace them if I need to. But for the time being, I think we're just going to leave it as is. Maybe put some battens to kind of seal the gaps in between them. We toyed with the idea of putting silicone in between them, but that was just, you know, this raising day, it's not really the time to put a roof on properly. So this was kind of a happy medium. It was enough. It was short enough to make the raising not too difficult, but still a complete enough product, right? Anyway, so that's the roof. Hopefully it lasts. One last thing, I don't know if you noticed, but I have these holes over here. So originally, I designed this to have some stabilizer pieces. So you'd have a second post that sits out here, and then you'd have what's called a nuki, so essentially a board that fits in there and fits into the other one. Because of the way that the door swings, and because of where my gas line is, I will not be installing those stabilizer posts. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to plug the hole and, you know, let it be. I think it's a pretty cool gate, and we're pretty happy with it. So if you have any questions, let me know. I'd be happy to talk about the gate. There's also the plans that are available if you're curious as to how it's made and if you want to give it a try.